Good morning, everyone. My name is Carol George, and I am an occupational therapist with the Charlotte Mecklenburg School System. I have been with CMS over 20 years and have a huge passion in helping students with social emotional needs. My co presenter today is Cindy Monroe, and I would like her to take the time to tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, everyone. I am Cindy Monroe, as Carol said, and I am a speech language pathologist and have been with CMS for over 20 years. I'm currently the coordinator for our assistive technology team. I have a passion for helping students with disabilities. Today, Carol and I are going to talk to you a little bit about mindfulness and visuals and how they can help support student learning.
I want to start with this question. Are you mindful, like the person on the left-hand side, where all his thoughts are about what he's got to do this afternoon after work, about what he's got to do next week, what he's got to do before the holidays? Or are you mindful, like the dog on the right-hand side, where he is taking a walk, just looking at the green trees and the bright sunshine? We are all busy at work, managing so many different things. On top of that, we have our own personal lives. On an average, a person has 60,000 thoughts each day. We're inundated with information all the time, from phones, emails, texts, social media. We're always on. So, in order to shift our mindset from all of that to this presentation today, we are going to start with looking at a photo. We're going to take a brief mental vacation to quiet our brains and reset our state of mind. So, look at this picture. How do you feel when you look at it? Do you feel calm, peaceful, relaxed, happy? It sure makes me feel this way. I love the mountains. I feel a sense of calmness when I see them. Wouldn't it be nice if we always felt this way instead of this photo? Personally, this photo makes me feel stressed and overwhelmed. Today, we live in such a very busy and distracted world. We are always on, always going from one thing to another. So let's talk about it. What is mindfulness? The father of mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn, defines mindfulness as this: paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non judgmentally. Mindfulness is simply slowing down to pay full attention to something, noticing the here and now without the need to change it. Being mindful is the opposite of rushing or multitasking. When you are mindful, you take your time. In this picture, there are two children that are not using mindfulness. There is a stimulus where a little girl accidentally steps on a little boy's foot. Then the little boy steps right back on her foot. Then the girl steps right back on his foot, and so on and so on. At the bottom in this photo, there is a stimulus where the girl accidentally steps on the little boy's foot, but the little boy stops, pauses, thinks about it, and then makes a thoughtful response and says, "Please be careful." And she apologizes, and he says it's okay. With mindfulness, there is a stimulus, but then there is that space or pause. And this space allows one to think the situation through and intentionally make a good choice. Mindfulness is power, but it is not a cure all. Mindfulness provides you with tools and skills for life, things you will need to meet the challenges of everyday life. Mindfulness is an evidence based practice that works if approached with the right attitude. Mindfulness is not religious. It is about engaging with practices that will improve overall well being. Although mindfulness can help with student behavior, it is not meant to be used for discipline. I think it's important to know a little bit about mindfulness and the brain and how it can help. When a student experiences certain emotions, there is actually something going on in the brain. The student is not doing it to be difficult or to try to cause a situation. When the brain works best, the upstairs and downstairs part of our brain communicate well with each other. The upstairs part of our brain is the prefrontal cortex, which is the rational part of our brain. And the downstairs part of our brain is the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain. If this communication between the prefrontal cortex and amygdala does not occur, the amygdala takes charge and sends a student into a fight, flight, or freeze response. That means the student is going to either fight, elope, or is going to shut down. When a student experiences any one of these three responses, he is not able to be reasoned with. Words mean nothing to him. Mindfulness can calm the amygdala and help communication between the amygdala and the rational part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, occur again, so that you are then able to talk to the student and figure out what went wrong with the behavior. So, what are we seeing in the classroom? I'm sure you are all seeing a lot of these behaviors: stress, decreased emotional regulation, decreased attention, exhaustion, anxiety. I'm seeing this not only with students, but I am seeing this also in some teachers. But the one thing that I'm seeing the most this school year are the aggressive behaviors. So, why would we want mindfulness in the schools? There is research that says mindfulness can help with emotional regulation, stress, and attention to task. One school here in our district, Greenway Park, implemented a mindfulness program about 3 years ago when I was there. This program was funded through a grant. There was a mindfulness teacher, and there were about 10 to 12 teachers that did mindfulness in their classrooms. After the year, the data showed that there was improvement not only in class dojo behavior, aggressive behavior, disciplinary action, but also in elementary school suspensions. As a school employee working with students, it's important to take care of yourself first. You can't help students if you don't, like what they say in airplanes, put on your oxygen mask first. Simple ways to take care of yourself are before work, maybe take a walk, take a long shower, or on your commute to and from work. Maybe take a different route or go through the drive through at Starbucks and get a cup of coffee. Or maybe take a lunch without working. I know there's a lot of times that I will sit at my computer and do documentation and answer emails during my lunch hour. And then when my lunch hour ends, I'm like, what did I eat? Was it cold? Was it hot? Was it spicy? Was it sweet? Did I even enjoy it? I don't know. But by bringing mindfulness into your lives, you can bring a sense of calmness to your students and be a role model to them. Now that you know what mindfulness is, let's talk about how to use it to support our students in the classrooms. A student's learning environment can have a significant impact on a student's learning, focus, and behavior. I think it is important to know how a classroom environment can impact a student's behavior. Of course, it is the teacher's classroom, but I am sure they would welcome any suggestions to help with a student's behavior. Students' behaviors can be impacted by the classroom noise level, visual distractions, temperature, and smells. It's important to know a student's sensitivities and how they could be contributing to his behaviors. As we all know, the classroom can be full of noises from outside, from the adjacent classroom and the hallways, and also within the classroom itself. Research has shown that noise can have detrimental effects upon students' performance. Some clues that you might see that indicate hypersensitivity to loud noises are students hiding under mats or furniture, students covering their ears or sticking their fingers in their ears, students eloping, crying, or also putting their hoodie over their heads. There are various auditory strategies to help with noise levels or help those students that are hypersensitive to noise. You can use noise canceling headphones, especially during independent work time. The door could be kept closed. And for those students that are sensitive to noise, maybe giving them pre-warnings of safety drills or let them transition early or late and not in the crowded hallways. And then also using visual quiet signals to those students that are very chatty. Too much visual stimulation, disorganization, various colors, various patterns in the classroom can have a negative or a positive effect on a student's academic performance or behavior. Research has shown that fluorescent lighting, which are used in all of our classrooms, can impact moods, learning performance, behaviors, as well as cause headaches and impact the way one feels. Fluorescent lights are not only bright and unnatural, but they can cause a buzzing noise that may be distracting to students who are hypersensitive to auditory input. Of course, we cannot change the lighting in the classrooms, but we could turn them off or dim the lights and use natural lighting if it's available, or lamps or string lights. You could also cover lights with heat safe covers called light filters, and there are various different colors that can be used. Or you can use preferential seating. A cluttered classroom can have an impact upon a student's learning, focus, and behavior. Too much hanging artwork or things on the walls can overwhelm a student. Also, it's visually distracting if there's a lot of movement in the classroom, if people are coming in and out of the doors, or if there are a lot of kids up out of their seats, or if there's a lot of activity outside of the windows. Strategies to help with visual distractions are individual partitions, or there are also floor partitions or mats that I have seen used to block off various areas of the classroom. You could adjust the blinds, close the doors. You can cover busy bookshelves with cloth material or use preferential seating. The term thermal comfort describes a state of mind in terms of whether you are too hot or too cold. There are things that influence thermal comfort. One of them are environmental factors, such as humidity and sources of heat, personal factors, such as clothing, and physical factors, such as activity level. Students are coming back from recess or PE, and they're very hot and they're very sweaty. Temperature can impact a student's comfort level, their focus, alertness, and ability to make good decisions. So it's important to make sure students have access to water, or whether it be a water fountain or water bottle. Maybe discuss appropriate clothing, having them dress in layers during the wintertime, or bring in a sweater just to have it available if they get too cold. Also, blinds can be adjusted and fans can be placed in the classroom to help circulate the air. The olfactory system, or the sense of smell, is the strongest sense linked to emotion and memory. Your sense of smell can trigger all sorts of behaviors, whether it be negative or positive. They say that 75% of the emotions we generate on a daily basis are affected by smell. So it's important to consider all the odors in a classroom or in the school environment. There are chemicals, there are cafeteria smells, there are smells that the adults wear, such as scented lotions, scented shampoos, colognes, perfumes. Strategies to help with the olfactory system for those that are hypersensitive. Maybe they need to eat in another room besides the cafeteria if they are sensitive to cafeteria smells. Or the adult may not be able to wear certain perfume or cologne or use that scented hand lotion or scented shampoo. Some students are calmed down by certain scents. I have seen parents send in essential oil roll on bottles where certain scents calm a student. So the student just rubs the bottle on his wrist and smells it. I've also seen scented tools such as erasers, pens, markers, and pencils used also. It's important if these particular scented tools are used that they're away from the students that are hypersensitive to olfactory input. So let's talk about flexible seating in the classroom. Flexible seating or alternative seating is when various seating options are offered to students because students learn in different ways. Some of the benefits are you're providing choice, comfort, and sensory input. And by providing those things, you're probably going to see an improvement in behavior and in student engagement. There should be rules for flexible seating. Students get possessive about certain seats, and sometimes they're not used properly. There is flexible seating for students that like to move, that need a defined area, that like to stand, or need deep pressure or that calming input. In this picture, these are pictures of alternative seating ideas for students that need movement. There is the hokey or wobble stools up on the left top side of your screen. There is also seat concentration cushions that can be placed in a chair or on the carpet. There are also yoga balls or therapy balls, and I like to see them placed in crates so they are not rolling around. And then in the top right part of your screen, there are TheraBand or bouncy bands, or you can use inner bicycle tubing. You place it around the chair legs, and the student can use their feet to fidget on them. Here are some more ideas for alternative seating. In the upper left-hand corner, this is a bungee chair. This also provides movement for students, but it also provides it for longer periods of time. Some seating ideas for floor seating is the stadium seating. There's also video rockers up in the upper right-hand corner for especially the older kids. And there are beanbag chairs too that provide that deep pressure, that calming input. And then what I've seen a lot lately are kids that like to stand. And to me, that's okay. Provide them a space where they're at a bookshelf area where they can stand and do their work, or raise the height of their desk so that they're able to stand to do their work. So let's talk about the mindful space. A mindfulness corner or calm down corner or reset corner, whatever you want to call it, are where students can reset. It's a place away from others where they can regulate their emotions. There are certain items that I feel are important to have in a mindfulness corner besides alternative seating and a calm down box. One of them is a set of rules. Some students will just like to go to the calm down corner and stay there for long periods of time. So it's good to have a set of rules. A visual timer might be helpful. And then a reflection sheet where the students can look and see how do they feel, what did they do wrong, and what could they do better the next time. Mindfulness toolkits or calm down kits are important to have in the mindfulness corner. They should be individualized. But there could be a lot of different things you could put in the calm down basket. There could be breathing cards. There could be things for them to squeeze, such as putty, Play Doh, or a stress ball. There could be coloring or drawing tools, such as a doodle pad, mandalas. Kinetic sand is a popular thing that I like to put in calm down baskets because it's moldable and it's not very messy. Glitter jars can be made where the students are provided visual input, and I have also made those where they're weighted, where it's providing proprioceptive or that heavy work input that they need. The one that I want to highlight at the top is a breathing bead, and it is can be easily made with a pipe cleaner and beads. You can put as many beads as you want. I would say anywhere from 3 to 10, and the student moves one bead at a time as he takes a deep breath. Social emotional check-ins are important not only to the teacher, but also to the student too. For an adult or for a teacher, it's important to know how students feel so that you can deliver in the moment supports. Some of the times that I feel that are really important to do emotional check-ins are when the student arrives to school. You don't know what kind of morning the student had. Did he sleep that night? Did he eat a good breakfast or were they rushed because they were woke up late? Did he have a bumpy bus ride? Did he get in an argument with his parents or with a sibling? Another time of the day that's important to do an emotional check-in is at the end of the day. I have seen the next morning coming in from students where people have talked about, oh, well, Johnny had a bus referral yesterday because he got in a fight with a student or he got in an argument with the bus driver. It might have been good to have an emotional check-in before the student went home so that a mindfulness or calming activity could have been done prior to getting on the bus. There are many type of check-ins. I have seen these used in the classroom, especially for younger students, so that they have more difficulty identifying their emotions. Zones of regulation is a popular self-regulation tool and one that can be used from a very young age, like age 3 to 4, all the way up through high school, even though I've seen it used for the younger population. The picture to the left-hand side is for the older students, and the picture to the right-hand side is used for younger students. There are also other variations that you might see in the school district for as teachers have tried to get buy-in or tried to increase understanding of the zones. They have used the Inside Out characters, Winnie the Pooh, Disney characters, and superheroes. In this program, there are 4 zones: the blue, green, yellow, and red. In the blue zone, students are either sad, tired, or they're bored. In the green zone, this is where most people would sit there and say you would want your students because they're happy, they're calm, they're ready to learn, they're focused. Yellow zone, this is a warning sign. This is when kids are frustrated, they're worried, they're overly silly or overly excited, and they're getting ready to go into the red zone where they are going to throw, kick, yell, they're out of control, they're very angry. This is the zone where you cannot reason with them. You need to limit your verbals and give the students time and space. All zones are okay. It's how you handle yourself in each zone. When you're in a particular zone, there is a toolbox of strategies that helps one get back to what you would say the green zone or a zone where you can manage your emotions. These strategies are individualized for each student. But for example, in the blue zone, you might offer the student a drink of water or some stretch breaks. In the yellow zone, you might have to send the student to a calming corner or maybe do wall push-ups. In the red zone, you need to provide some type of intense strategy, such as a brisk walk or have the student run a lap. There are different ways of checking in with the zones of regulation. You don't need a specialized poster. You can have the students put their name on a clothespin and clip where they're feeling each day as they arrive. Or you can use Velcro. Or one of the most simplest and doesn't require a lot of setup is using strips of construction paper that are blue, green, yellow, and red. I was in a classroom a couple of years ago where this was used, and the BST in the classroom was working with a student, but he looked over at another student and said, "How are you feeling?" And the student held up a green construction piece of paper, indicating that he was in the green zone and was still ready to learn and was okay. There are also ways, there need to be ways of checking in when the student's not in the classroom because kids go to lunch, they go to recess, they go to electives, they go to specials. And the way to do that is to place the zones of regulation on a lanyard. Um, and then the student can identify how they're feeling throughout the day. The incredible 5-point scale is another self-regulation tool. I have seen this used with older kids. It's where you rank your feelings on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being you're feeling okay, and 5 is you're out of control. And that sort of correlates with the zones of regulation red zone. The ways of using the 5-point scale, of course, having the adult use it on their lanyard. The students can use a paper clip and clip up on the way that they feel. Also, I have, for high school students, made small cards and had them put them in their wallet or in the back of their cell phone or in their book bag. And this is good because they can use it not only at school and home, but also out in the community. There are various ways to practice mindfulness. I will go over some of these in a few minutes, but the one that I want to highlight here to the right is the mindful body scan. It is where you scan your body for tension. It helps children relax, focus on bodily sensations, and calm their minds. And it can be as simple or as detailed as you want by the number of body parts that you scan. A lot of students do not know how to take deep breaths. So these are breathing techniques for those younger students. They may need to use an object, a visual, or incorporate movement in order to help them understand how to breathe. In the picture to the left-hand side is a little girl using a pinwheel to help her with her breathing. In the middle is a visual where you're using a real life situation where you tell the students, smell the flower, and then pretend like you're blowing out a candle. Or you could have them pretend like they're smelling hot chocolate and then blowing it to cool it off. On the right-hand side is the volcano breath, where the student is incorporating movement while taking breaths. These are some breathing techniques for older students. In the bottom center is the lazy 8 breathing. That is where you take 3 seconds to use your finger to trace the left-hand side of the board where you breathe in, and then 3 seconds to breathe out as you trace the right side of the 8. There are also various shapes that can be used, such as squares, triangles, stars. Up at the top is where some students might need to use a manipulative to help them with their breathing, where they take one Velcroed breathe card and move it to number 1 as they take a breath. Then you take another breathe card and move it to number 2, and so on and so on. You can use this with 3 breaths, 5 breaths, or even 10 breaths. To the right-hand side is the 5-finger breathing. I really like this one because it can not only be used as a visual board, but the students can use it on their own hand also. The student breathes in as he traces up his finger and then breathes out as he goes down his finger. Another one of my favorites is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This can be done anytime or any place. It's where you stop and have the students name 5 things they see, 4 things they feel, 3 things they hear, 2 things they smell, and then 1 thing they taste. I have seen variations of this where instead of naming 1 thing you taste, you name 1 thing positive about yourself. All of these breathing boards and some of the mindfulness activities are on the EC Visual website, which Cindy will talk about in a little bit. Sometimes you might not have a visual. So in the bottom center, you will see this little boy tracing with his finger a figure 8 in the air. You could also do this with various shapes. To the right-hand side, masking tape has been used to place on a student's desk so that he can trace a square as he takes his breaths. In the top middle, you will see a student tracing her own hand because maybe you need to get buy-in, and maybe the student would perform this 5-finger breathing if he used his own handprint. There are various ways to do mindful observances. You can do it when you drive, when you eat, when you bathe, when you listen to music. But the one that I want to highlight is mindful walking. And the reason for that is I know a lot of times the number one strategy for students that have behaviors is let's take them for a walk. Well, maybe do a mindful walk next time. Have the students concentrate on the physical sensations of walking. How do their shoes feel? Are they tight? Do they feel loose? Does the ground underneath them feel hard or bumpy or soft? You might could even incorporate the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as you do a mindful walk also. I love mindful movement because it incorporates 2 evidence-based practices, movement and breathing. The main objective of mindful movement is to notice the sensations and movements of your body, as well as your breathing. Unlike exercise, where the main objective is to get in physical shape. You can see in the middle of your screen a star breathing card. And then to the right of that is where a teacher has put on her floor a star with masking tape so that the students can walk the star as they take their deep breaths. Also, mindful stretching can be done in the classroom, and that is where students are simply exploring their body and its movements in a slow and deliberate way. Mindful art. I really like mindful art and have used this a lot in various classrooms. Mindful art reduces stress, anxiety, and helps mood and self-esteem. And a lot of students love art. You can put various things in your mindful art kits. You can put doodle pads, journals, various coloring tools, scented tools, stickers. But the 2 that I want to highlight are the mandalas and the labyrinths. Mandala research states that you will see a significant change in behavior after coloring mandalas for 3 minutes. I have put these in resource classrooms, regular classrooms, school counselors' offices, and I've also put them in assistant principals' offices who do a lot with behavior. Having the student color a mandala for about 3 minutes where they're in that red zone and they're not able to talk, getting them to calm down so that they're able to talk about what they did. I have also made mini ones for high school students where they can put it in their book bag to color when they need it. Labyrinths have been proven to have the ability to quiet the mind. You could have the students color them, and then you could have them use it to trace it with their finger. I like to encourage guided imagery or visualization a lot in the classrooms, especially upon arrival to school, as it sets the tone for the day. There have been some teachers that tell me when I've tried to introduce mindfulness, saying, I just can't do this. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. And I said, well, can you at least put on a video of nature or animals as the students arrive to school? Because because this is an easy way to try mindfulness. And by simply looking at photos of nature for as few as 5 minutes, it can have a calming effect on the brain. Some people will see students expressing gratitude for things as it is not only good for mindfulness, but it also helps children have a more positive attitude towards life. Gratitude jars I have seen in school counselors' offices, and I have seen gratitude worksheets or journals being done during morning work. These are some mindfulness videos you might see played in elementary classrooms, such as the Mindful Yeti, Class Dojo, and Go Noodle. They all have mindfulness videos. The Virtual Calming Library, or the VCL, a lot of y'all might be familiar with this. It was created by myself and 3 other occupational therapists in the OT department who are mindful educators. This was created at the beginning of last school year as we were all getting ready to go into remote learning, but continues to be used this school year. It was created as a space for CMS students, staff, and families to access tools beneficial to manage emotions and build resilience. Much to our excitement and surprise, this has grown into something much bigger than we ever anticipated. In its first year, there were over 8,600 total users and participants from 36 countries just by spreading the word. It is being used by not only occupational therapists, teachers, school counselors, speech therapists, school psychologists, and behavioral staff. It is divided into supports for the various grade bands, and it also has sections for staff, parents, and the Spanish speaking population. And some of the supports are related to mindfulness, breathing techniques, movement, visual arts, and brain games. It also tells how one can explain mindfulness to each age group. If you have not explored this particular tool, I encourage you to do so. Mindfulness can be done anytime. I mentioned already upon arrival to school and at the end of the day, but there are also 2 other times that you might want to consider doing mindfulness, and that is after the 2 biggest sensory overloads times of the day, and that is after lunch and after recess. Would be good to try mindfulness then to help reset the students so that they're able to participate in their academics. These are some mindful movements to diffuse anger. The one that I like the most is the forward bend, as you see the little boy bending over to touch his toes in the upper right-hand corner. You can also do this in sitting. The students just bend over, not try to stretch, but just calmly bend over. And this helps to calm their mind and soothe their nervous system. At the bottom, you can see the little boy doing the tense and release, where he tenses every muscle in his body for a few seconds and then he releases it. You don't have to do the whole body. You can just do your fist and arms, and that would be enough. The picture in the middle is the wood chopper breath. I like this. You can It incorporates movement where the child clasps his arms, takes a deep breath as he raises them over his head, and then as he bends over to perform a chopping motion, he makes a noise and takes a deep breath as if he is chopping wood. You can change the scenery, go for a walk. Counting helps to diffuse anger. Our minds need to focus to count. So, by doing so, we are sending calming signals to the rest of our body. Blowing in the hands is another way to diffuse anger because that warm air helps to calm down a student. Another one that I would like to mention that is not on the screen is where if there's a student that refuses to get up off the floor and is having a tantrum, you can have them lie on their back up against a wall and then put their legs up against the wall in a 90-degree angle. This helps to calm the nervous system, helps them to relax and quiet their mind. These are some common barriers to mindfulness. Some people think it's too airy fairy. Some people have unrealistic expectations and think everything is going to be fixed, after one session or 1 week of mindfulness. It's not done consistently. And sometimes students don't understand how it relates to their life and their stressors, so they don't participate in it. But the one that I hear the most is, I don't have the time to do mindfulness. But I would ask that person, do you have the time to deal with all these behaviors? Why not give mindfulness a try? I love this quote. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. It is saying that even though we can't stop the problems from coming into our students' lives or into our own lives, we can teach them to surf. In other words, we can help them find ways to solve their problems, maybe even introduce new ones like mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't hard. We just need to be willing to try it and remember to do it. So, again, I ask you, are you mindful or mindful? Are you like Calvin and Hobbes, where they are so busy watching out for what's just ahead that they can't enjoy where they are? Or are you like Piglet and Pooh, where they are saying that today is their favorite day? One of the lessons from Piglet's answer is the need to be in the present. And that is what mindfulness is trying to teach us. Today must always be our favorite day. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is uncertain and yet to come. I am going to let now Cindy go over visuals.